Blast me to Cyphos! It's time for the Mad Merlin's Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. Episode 24, Lore, Build Guide and Playthrough. Hello and welcome back to the Mad Merlin's Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. So today we are going to go through issue 23, excuse me. Jumping ahead myself. Issue 23 with our Canoptek Spyder. So we'll have a quick look at the sprue and we'll go through our issue. So here we have our Spyder sprue. It's 2 frames connected as one. So we get the main body of the spider, the leg attachments area, the housing casing, his head. Then on this sprue we got his particle beamer and his various lethal little legs, plus his additional tools for maintenance and repairing, and the gloom prism, which will be important in this issue's playthrough. So we also get a flying stand and a set of flying stems with ball joints. So you just choose whether you want the small or the large, cut it out, glue it into position, and then this will push into the larger hole underneath. You may need to glue it in place to get a solid fix, but if you're going to be transporting the models, it's always good to leave them loose. So there we have our frame. Flip over. We can see we've got some nice detail on the inside. I know these are going to be eventually closed up, but if, like me, you love painting detail, all these gribbly little Canoptek Scarabs are just screaming to be painted. And then we've got the other side of his weapons. And we've got 2 head options, 1 large mandible or 2 smaller mandibles. And they got the actual head of the main feeders. So there we have our sprue. So let's go through our magazine. So we get a single miniature with this issue, which is our Canoptek Spyder. We learn all about the different Canoptek constructs, and we have new data sheets and a playthrough. So our contents list is battle record for our Canoptek Spyder, details about the Canoptek constructs and disciples of the machine god, build and paint our Canoptek Spyder, data sheets for our Spider and Scarabs, and we have a new playthrough which teaches us all about how to negate psychic powers. So here's our battle record for the Canoptek Spyder, who are the protectors of the tomb. So these lethal multi-limbed technological terrors scurry and fly across the battlefield, repairing Necron masters and unleashing terrible weaponry upon the living. So the main armament of the Necrons are their claws. They have a fabricated claw array, which is used to help repair battlefield damage. The gloom prism used to help deny psychic powers. And they got the optional particle beamers, which help to give them some ranged combat ability. At the bottom, we got a little bit about the Scarab Hives and how they are used to reinforce injured units of Scarabs. The only thing is, we got 2 different styles of Scarabs now. These are the older style Scarabs, and you got your newer ones here with the more dome energy ball in the center. Still, they look quite nice to them. So, flipping over the battle record, my unit designation is the Crypt Creeper. His enhancements from the Cryptex is silent propulsion systems. His protocols are to protect the armory. Could have used him when we had the invasion in the Resurrection Orb tomb. And his battle protocols is to protect and repair the royal nobles. Then at the bottom, we've got a Heart of the Swarm, so we can tick off how many Scarab units it has reanimated, and then we got any important details, battle records we can put down there. So our first piece of lore is all about the Canoptek constructs of the Necrons. So Canoptek constructs can be found on every Necron world, and accompanying most Necron armies to battle. They are artificial slave machines whose entire existence is devoted to serving and protecting their noble masters and their works. So we've got a various selection here of different Canoptek constructs. So you've got your Doomstalkers, which carry massive weaponry and help defend the tombs. We got our Scarabs, Spyders, Wraiths, which we'll be getting later on. Canoptek Reanimators, which again we'll be getting one of those later on. And we get our Plasmacytes. And our next bit of lore is the Disciples of the Machine God. So this gives us a little bit of lore and background about the Adeptus Mechanicus. So to the Adeptus Mechanicus, the maintenance of technology and the pursuit of knowledge are the most holy duties. Those who interfere with their holy works are cruelly punished or swept aside by endless legions of unflinching steel soldiers. So you've got a rather intimidating looking tech priest there, and his servants. And on the back, we got a nice look at the Skitarii legions, backed up by some Titans. And then, of course, at the bottom, we got a little blurb about the Tech Marines, who are the Space Marines engineers that help maintain war gear and vehicles. Okay, onto our build guide. I'm not going to actually build my spider. I've already built two, and I have plans for the third one to make a nice little diorama. But I'll give you a few hints and tips on how to make a slightly better posed model. So you can get away by following the instructions as it says here. My favourite way to do things though is to at least glue the bottom half of the rear assembly to the front assembly, so that when it comes to positioning your legs, you're not going to be putting them in positions that stop the actual body pieces connecting. Because the first time I built one I built one even, get my words in the right order would be helpful. I put the back legs on first as the instructions said, but I had them a little too close towards the back, so I had to, luckily the glue isn't too dry, so I was able to just move them into position. So it's a good idea to definitely dry fit, or at least glue this into position as you're going. And if you want to paint the Scarabs, you can simply put a little bit of blue tack along the underside of the top carapace, and then these are easily scraped off with your mold line tool. When it comes to the legs, I have found that you can put pretty much any leg in any socket, though it does suggest that you put them in this order. If you want a little bit more range of movement with your legs, you can easily remove the bottom peg with your clippers. And then if you glue on these top sections here first, the legs will be able to click into place in the socket, and then you can move them about and then just let them set with the glue. Your underneath is your fabricator array. So you can basically mix and match any of the different claws. The gloom prism will only go in that one section there in the center because of it being a specific angle. But you do get the option of either having two injectors, the repair cables, small claw, or medium size, rather heavy duty claws. And when it comes to the head, the build guide does say that the paint guide will only help you paint that one face. There's no real difference between the two faces. You just have two eyes on one side and a set of vents on this face, and just one central eye and 2 eyes on either side on that face. So the build guide will help you paint either of the 2 faces. The only thing that might be different is when it comes to painting the actual faceplate itself, but it's just really the same shape as the other one. The main central eye is a little bit further down, and you've got the dividing section there. Then the claw arms here do go much like legs. You can clip them in position and then pose them and then let the glue dry in place. You can easily get some nice looking poses. My first one, I've got them sort of coming around in front of it. My second one, they're just rather standard. And then we got our particle beamer, which is an optional equipment. So the datasheet does give you the rules for the particle beamer. So if you want to use it, you can. If not, it's up to you. It's a pretty good weapon, but really I think it just gets in the way, especially if you do end up gluing the model all together as one piece. But if you're leaving the top section of the rear open, loose, you can easily access all the detail by gluing on the particle beamer. And then finally, you'll have to do your gluing your model to your stand. I would definitely advise to not glue the stand to the model before you finished painting, because otherwise you are going to obstruct the gloom prism. I would glue in afterwards and make sure you put a little bit of blue tack in the socket so that you don't get any paint there. And if you are building the sub-assembly like this, do the same, put a ball of blue tack in the socket so that you don't get any paint and ruin your connection for the glue. Build guide, we can just flick through. So it just gives you the basics on how to build and paint your scarab. So if you are painting in the Zarak dynasty even, this is how you will paint it. I'm of course painting mine in the Saltec dynasty, and I can even show you mine now. Here's my first one. Let's see if I can light a bit better. There. Here's my first one. You can see I've got the claws slightly lowered. His injectors pushing forward like he's pulling in a damaged Necron to get a repair boost. There's his gloom prism. And as you can see, the flying stand would get in the way. You can paint around it, but you would inevitably get paint on the flying stand. This is how I'm painting my Canoptek constructs. I might go back and add some edge highlighting, but I'm pretty pleased with him at the moment. There we go. So before we get into the battle, we have new data sheets. So we've got our Canoptek Spyder's datasheet. So you get his particle beamer, his claws, the fabricator repair array, and the gloom prism. We get all his different special rules. So living metal, reanimation protocols, command protocols are on separate data sheets. The explode rule, and his Scarab Hive. And then we've got our data sheet for our Canoptek Scarab swarms. So we'll be getting 2 sets of these over the course of the collection. And if, like me, you've got a couple of spiders, it's good to have one spider backing up each set of swarms. On the back, we've got a little tutorial about denying psychic powers, exploding, and how to repair Scarab units. So without further ado, let's move on to our next playthrough 23, Storm the Battery, which is our last tutorial sort of playthrough. And from 24 onwards, we are actually going into proper missions. So as the issues are changing to proper missions, I will be doing turn-by-turn video reports instead of full playthroughs. So I'll simply record the introduction and stuff, show deployment, stop recording, play first turn, record the outcome, and then so on and so on. But without further ado, let's get into playthrough 23. So we have our battlefield set up. So each side has a 3-inch deployment zone. We got 10 Necron warriors, a Canoptek Spyder, a swarm of Scarabs, 3 aggressors, and a Phobos librarian. So here we go. Storm the battery. Necron forces have teleported to key positions across Cyphos' surface. The Xenos have dispatched a force of Canoptek constructs and Necron warriors to tear down the Imperium's vast gun batteries and cripple their defenses. Battery Omicron 455. Battery Omicron 455 overlooks Cyphos' barracks and armories, standing on the edge of a sheer cliff. The vast network of communication arrays and gun platforms is a formidable barrier to Necron progress. If the guns can be silenced, the Necrons' relentless march across Cyphos' barren and unforgiving surface will have been made far easier. Imperial defenders rush to hold the line and prevent the guns from being atomized by swarms of Canoptek constructs. Mission briefings. Necron warriors, Canoptek Spyders, and Canoptek Scarabs seek to overrun the Imperial defenses. In their path, a heavily armored aggressor squad accompanied by a librarian. They will need to utilize Flame Fist and Psychic Might to wipe out the enemy. Necrons overrun the battery. The Necrons will have to cut a path through the Imperial defenders to reach their objective. The Space Marines must be obliterated swiftly. Space Marines, wipe out the invaders. If a single Canoptek construct breaches the Imperial position and reaches the guns, disaster may well ensue. The Necrons must be destroyed to the last. So this is just a simple tutorial mission that allows you to play through and learn about denying psychic powers. So we've got the Necrons up first. And so we're going to go into our command phase. There's no command abilities to happen, as our Canoptek Scarabs are fully healthy, so we can't reinforce them yet. So we're going to go forward. So the Spyder can move 6, Scarabs 10, and the Warriors 5. So we'll close in. Don't want to get hit in the way of the Spyder. That'll do. Spyder moves 6. And our Scarabs can fly 10. On to shooting. So we've got the particle beamer from our Canoptek Spyder, which is an Assault 6. So we need 4s to hit. We're going to be shooting at the aggressors. 2 misses. And it's Strength 5, no AP, damage 1. So, Strength 5, Tough 5, 4s. Oh dear. Only 1. The gun's main purpose is weight of shots. So, no negatives to armor. So, 3 up save. And that's a 5. Okay, and Necrons. So we got Out of range for our Reapers, but our 5 Flayers are going to be long range. Oops. So, needing freeze to hit. Strength 4, tough 5. 4s. No, 5s even. Can't count. 1 wound and -1 for Gore's Flayers. No. 1 wound to our aggressors. Our first model takes a wound. Okay. So the tutorial tells us to skip the Scarabs charging. So that gives us the Space Marine's turn. So we're going to move. Our Librarian can only move to there. And our aggressors can move 5. They're definitely in range for their Flamestorm gauntlets. So, Psychic Phase, we're going to attempt to cast Smite. So, we're going to cast Smite at the Scarabs. And we just get it. But as our Spider is within range of our Librarian, it can attempt to deny. So, it rolls 2 dice, and if we beat the Librarian's casting roll, the power is stopped. We don't, so Smite gets off and does D3 wounds at the Scarabs for free. So, on to our shooting phase. We are going to shoot with our Flamestorm aggressors. So we get Assault D6, and there's 3 of them. So 10 shots. 9, 10. Auto hitting. So strength 4, toughness 4 of our warriors, 4s. Not bad. No minuses. So that's 7 4-up armor saves. Three warriors. I'll take those 2 and that one. Have failed their armor saves. And Librarian will shoot to his bolt pistol. Nope, he misses. Okay, on to charging. So the Librarian will have to charge the Scarabs. He's in. And our aggressors will have to charge the warriors. Ooh. Nope, that's a failed charge. So, end of shooting phase, sorry. I should have done reanimation protocols for our warriors. And none got back up anyway. Otherwise, they might have been able to reach the charge. So, our Librarian gets to attack with 4. Needing freeze. And he's strength 5 because of the 4 swords +1. Toughness 3 of the Scarabs. Freeze. All wounds. And they only have a 6-up save, so there's no saves. So we've got 3 wounds, dealing D3 damage each. So our first one is enough to destroy that swarm. And our next 2 on the second swarm is 3 damage. So it's still alive. So on to Necrons turn 2. So in our command phase, our spiders excuse me, will get a chance to reinforce a friendly Scarab unit within 6 inches. So a single destroyed model is returned. Only 1 unit can be targeted each phase with this ability. So our warriors are going to get closer, although we don't want to get too close. But we are going to get in range, do some heavy rapid firing. And our spider, if we can go 6 and be 2 away. So particle beamer, assault 6, needing 4s. And needing 5s. 2 wounds, 2 free up saves. Excuse me. 1 made, 1 failed, so we lose our first aggressor. Warriors are going to open up, so they got 3 Reapers left. So we get 2 shots each, 6 in total. Needing 3s. And strength 5, tough 5, 4s. And a -2, so 5 up saves. Both fail. So that's 2 damage. So there's only 1 damage each. And the 4 Reapers, aren't Reapers, Flayers, which are half range. So 2 shots each. Needing 3s. Strength 4, tough 5, 5s. Only 1. And a -1, so a 4 up armor. He makes it. I forgot to have the Scarabs fight back last turn. So Scarabs would have, the 2 swarms that were alive would have fought back with 4 attacks each. Hitting on 4s. Wounding on 5s. 1 wound. Each time a hit roll is made of a 6, it's an automatic wound. So no minus, so a save, 3+. Ooh, the Librarian would have failed. So 1 wound. Okay, on to the Necron's turn. The Spider's going to charge in. 4 is plenty. So we'll see how deadly this Spider is in combat. So he gets 5 attacks as standard. So we get 4 to hit. That's a lot of hits. And then we get +2 strength for a total of strength 8. Toughness 5, not double, so 3s. That's 2. And it's a -3, so lonely aggressor with 1 wound here. has a 6-up save, which he doesn't make, so he loses his last wound. Then a 6-up save for our Sergeant, which he makes. It would have been 2 damage, which would have been rather nasty. So, our aggressor piles in. There's no other charging units, so we know the aggressors are safe. We'll have the Librarian attack the Scarabs first. 4 attacks, needing freeze. Everything hits. Strength 5, tough 3, needing freeze. Oh dear, not too good on the wounding. No armor saves. So D3 damage is enough to wipe out that unit model. And D3 damage for 1. Necrons turn to choose unit. So we've got 2 swarms left in our Scarabs. 6, 7, 8. 4 attacks each. Needing 4s. 6s are auto wounds. And that's all we got. So 2 wounds on a 3+. 1 makes, 1 fails. So all what's left is our aggressor sergeant to fight with his 4 attacks, needing freeze, and it's -1 because of the fist, so 4s. 2 hits. And he is strength 8. Toughness of the spider is 6, so freeze. 1. Oof, not as good as I could have hoped. But -3, so the spider has a 6-up save. Doesn't make it. And that turns into 2 damage to our spider. Okay. End of the turn. So we've lost 2 models here, so we're going to have to take a morale check. So 6 plus 2 is... We don't have leadership on this data sheet, that's not very helpful. I believe a intercessor sergeant has 8, so the aggressor sergeant would easily have 8. So that would be a pass, and a librarian. Okay. On to the Space Marine's turn then. We can attempt to do Smite. Cast on a 7. Can our spider deny? I don't think he can. No, he can't deny on that. I've just seen that we're half an hour into the video, so I'll have to make this the last turn, I think. So, I've got command, and so can't shoot with anything. So, on to the fight phase. So, the Necrons get to choose a first unit, so we're going to go for the spider. 5 attacks, needing 4s, I believe. Yes. Everything but 1. And then we get Strength 6, Tough 5, Freeze. With a -3. This could not go well. So, 6-up saves. Makes 1, 2 go through at 2 damage each. That's enough to finish off our aggressor squad. So you can consolidate 3 inches and keep 1 inch away from our librarian. As I'm not a character, I can't do a pile in. So, Space Marine's turn, so the Librarian gets to fight next. 4 attacks, needing freeze, followed by freeze. Yeah. Oh dear. D3 damage to Scarabs for 2, putting it up to 3 wounds. 4 Scarab attacks. Needing 4s, no auto wounds, and needing 5s. Nothing. So there we have it. I think I'll call it quits there. That poor Librarian is not going to last much longer. On to our debrief and what we're going to get in our next Imperium. So there we go. We've had a little tutorial mission for psychic phases and denying psychic tests. And I think we've learned quite a bit of important gameplay. As for what could have been done differently, I think definitely given the Necrons the chance to charge on the first turn would have been good. Get those Scarabs in combat earlier. It wouldn't have stopped the Librarian casting powers, but it still would have hopefully started eating away at his health. I think for the aggressors and the Librarian together, stick together and focus on 1 unit at a time. If they'd got rid of the warriors, they might not have suffered so much in the shoot phase. They would have been able to do a lot more damage if they'd also made their charge and got rid of them, got rid of the warriors earlier on in the first turn. But as it was, the spider got through and started munching. And much like it does in the video games that the spider appears, the Dawn of War games, he's a very nasty little monster. But on to our next Imperium. So, issue 24, we get 2 new paints, Rackar Flesh, which will be used on a lot of our Space Marine models with purity seals. And we also get a shade paint, non-oil, the only paint in the Warhammer range known for knocking itself over. But we'll learn how to use those new paints on our models. And if you haven't already completed your models like I have, or unlike I have, should I say, it gives you a good little extra bit of detail to your rather bland looking models. So you get to shade your Librarian's camo cloak as well. And we'll learn about relayering those colours. On to 25, we get a new unit of Necrons called the Necron Immortals. So we also learn about different Forge worlds, and we get the rules for our Immortals, and we get new tutorials for victory points and learning how to play missions properly. So, there we go. All what's left for me to do then is to say thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to help the channel out, there's my affiliate link, social medias, and also my Buy Me a Coffee. So, I will see you next time for more mad content. Goodbye.